welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black World Studios. We talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Yes, I know it's been a while. I am in and out, but we don't have candidates this year. So I'm taking this opportunity to do and explore other ways that I can help my community in these trying times. But nevertheless, I will always bring you the content that you need so that you can stay informed about what is going on. Also, I'm excited. Let's Talk Indiana is coming back with my friends Mary Noon and Mark Gavart. We're going to break down this session and the bills that matter to you and how they will impact you. I can't wait for us to get that together. I'm excited. You know how we do. You know how we do. Me, Mary, and Mark, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. But you know me, as always, I got a rant. All right, let's start this show off with this. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports community advocates celebrated the defeat of the shuffled around language that they maintained would have criminalized homelessness. Sleeping or sheltering on government property would have been a Class C misdemeanor. House Speaker Todd Houston, so basically, the original long dead bill only provided a legal defense, no nearby shelter. It was the work of Cicero Institute of Texas think tank pushing such policies around the country. One version would have required local law enforcement to consider agents' emergency detention after transportation to temporary shelter and contact crisis intervention specialists before making an arrest. An attempt to connect homeless housers to help supporters maintain. So now, I am extremely happy that this bill died because I didn't know not having a home or being unhoused was a reason to make it a Class C misdemeanor. Now, the other side of the aisle will tell you regularly how much they care about Hoosiers. But this bill would have targeted literally the most vulnerable of Hoosiers by suggesting that because they are unhoused, they should be criminalized and have a criminal record and be fined. So let me think about this for a minute. Typically, folks who are unhoused don't have a lot of money. It's one of the reasons why they're unhoused, right? One of. But to fine them and make them a criminal because of the situation that they found themselves in, I'm just going to say it. I'm not a big Bible thumper. Y'all know that. What would Jesus have done about that? Would Jesus been down with that? I don't think so. Would Jehovah been down with that? Muhammad? Yahweh? With criminalizing homelessness? And as much as this state cries about being religious and faith and all the things, this was a heartless bill, and I am so incredibly happy that it died. And it died a slow death. It should have been much faster, but it did die, and that's a good thing. News from the state reports the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission issued a firm rebuttal this week to Attorney General Todd Rokita's attempt to dismiss a pending ethics complaint accusing him of misleading the court. In a 44-page brief filed Tuesday, Adrian Meringue, executive director of the Disciplinary Commission, called Rokita's motion procedurally improper and meritless. She referenced the Republican Attorney General's filing from February, in which he argued that the pending disciplinary case violates his First Amendment rights and Indiana's anti-SLAAP law, which is designed to protect political speech from frivolous legal action. Mering repeatedly rejected Rokita's claims that 3 new charges filed against the Republican Attorney General were politically motivated or an unconstitutional attack on free speech. She urged the state's high court to move forward with the case. This matter is not about politics. It is not about Rokita's viewpoint on political, social, or cultural issues, nor is it about any executive decisions or actions by Rokita in his statutory office of Indiana Attorney General. Mering wrote, instead, this matter pertains to the integrity of the judicial system and the attorney disciplinary process. So, as you know, Attorney General Todd Rokita is known for opening his mouth for, political clout on the right. He, went on Fox News to disparage a doctor who saved a preteen who was found to have been raped and was pregnant and was saving their life. He goes on to continually lie about what he is and what he is not doing. And for him to suggest that the attacks on him are politically motivated is hypocrisy at its greatest. This guy's a clown, and we know this. This guy has no integrity. This guy is literally, orange light, because he ain't really orange. This guy is horrible in the way that he chooses to use his office. He is consistently going after people for their beliefs, but wants to suggest that in this Republican-controlled state, at every level, he is being targeted. He, Todd Rokita, the Attorney General, who just won re-election, is the victim. Can you believe it? This is who we have in leadership in the Attorney General's office. I am so glad that the disciplinary commission said, nah, bro, you on some mess and this ain't that. So hopefully, now the Supreme Court is a whole nother issue, but hopefully this can continue. And I know that there's some folks out there that are kind of happy about this. I just want the guy to behave like an attorney general, but we know that he is incapable of doing that. We know all he wants to do is go after black and brown and LGBTQ plus folk and suggest that our existence doesn't matter. We know he doesn't want everyone to have a good public education and access to public education. He knows he doesn't want us to have access to living wages. We know this. And we know that he does not want women to have access to reproductive health care when they need it. And a woman should determine when that is. We know these things. But now he is being held to account for his behavior. So don't let him think or get you to believe this ain't that. So they are definitely coming for Todd, and I'm pleased that he's going to be held accountable. And that's what we always talk about. Hold your elected officials accountable. Do not allow them to get away with things simply because they're elected. They're humans just like everybody else is. We don't get away with anything. No one is above the law, right? And so we must hold them to account. All right, last one. WANE.com reports Senate Bill 287 is now heading to Governor Mike Braun's desk for signature, allowing school board candidates to register with a political party. After receiving the final approval from the state Senate on Thursday, the bill will now give those running for school board positions the option to declare a political position or run for the position remaining nonpartisan. Lawmakers hope that by approving this bill, it will cause a higher turnout for local voting, along with providing transparency to the voter. For those who are proponents of this bill, turnouts are higher in partisan elections rather than nonpartisan elections. Mike Wolf, chair of the professor of political science at Purdue Fort Wayne, explains it is a way to actually increase turnout potentially. Wolf says the bill has been in the works as it has just brought up the past legislative sessions, but has just now broken through. As the bill was getting voted on, State Senator Liz Brown voted no to approving it, as she felt that there is no problem with how school boards are run now. It's a terrible bill, said Fort Wayne Community School Board member Steve Corona. If I've got to believe that 41 state-run school boards on a nonpartisan basis, Corona says, getting politics involved in the business of public education is a bad idea. You don't want political hacks serving as your superintendent or serving as a principal at a high school or any other building. You want people who have been hired because they are great educators. Well, I gotta say, Liz Brown, it's like a broken clock. She's pretty much right twice a day. I have never agreed with Liz Brown on many things, but I have to say she is correct on this one. I do not agree with Liz. I don't agree with Liz Brown a lot of times, but she's right about this one. This bill to create partisanship in school boards literally is about the straight ticket voter. And we recognize straight ticket voting happens up and down the state. They're never going to get rid of it. Also, it speaks to the fact that they have changed the rules that the superintendent of public education doesn't have to actually be an educator. So I want you all to think about this. We now have a superintendent of public education who does not have to be an educator, and we're going to have partisan school board races for public school boards. What does that mean? It means that curriculum is going to be decided based on politics and not fact. That means some school boards will have elected school boards who are actually looking out for the community. Some will not. There'll be disparities in those things. There will be no consistency. And basically, this is another way to say that public school system is not working and they can dismantle it. This is what it's all about. Connect the dots. I am so grateful I don't have any children. I am so grateful that I am out of school and I'm not going back to school. But you know what? I am going to get older soon. I'm already older. And I may need some assistance. And I hope the people, as I get older, who are assisting me can actually read the medication that I'm supposed to take. I hope that they are able to understand whatever medical procedures I'm supposed to have, if they're CNAs or whatever the case may be. Because in Indiana, we are not interested in intelligently educating our students. We want to dumb them down and turn them into worker bees, hence why we have a bill that allows 14-year-olds to work late into the night and 15 and 16-year-olds to work overnight on school nights. We're not preparing young people to be the next leaders and innovators in our state. We're teaching them to be worker bees. And because we don't actually look at the cost of living versus what the minimum wage is, these folks will always be struggling financially and be beholden to the systems that they're also trying to dismantle, like Medicare, Medicaid, so on and so forth. Indiana is a race to the bottom. That's where we're headed. And it's because we don't show up to vote like we should in places and a number and a clip that can have impact. So, guys, I know you probably don't like what's happening in the State House or what happened in the State House, but in order for us to actually make a change, we have to get involved. And tonight, I'm really excited to talk to some folks that are actually doing that kind of work at a different level. So when we come back from this break, I got to do my ads, let y'all know I'm still out here. We're going to talk to some folks that'll help you understand how you can get involved. That's my rant, by the way. Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com. All right. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. Listen, guys, there's more than one way to get engaged. And tonight, I am super stoked and super excited to talk with the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis and my dear brother. And when I say my brother, I mean my whole for real brother, right? We grew up in the U together. We go way back to the 70s and bell bottoms and afros. I mean, it's like that. Y'all give it up to my special guest, Tony Alexander, who is with Concerned Clergy. Sir, welcome to the show.
Well, it's definitely a privilege and a pleasure to be with you, my sister, Dana.
I love it. I mean, people don't know when you live in a city that's got about 900,000 people in it, they don't always know who knows who. And I've been watching you do your thing for such a long time. Tell us about your journey and getting into the spiritual space and becoming a minister here in Indianapolis.
Well, that's a interesting question, and it really is a journey for anyone that I would say has been called into the ministry. It takes a lot, first of all, just to acknowledge the call and then accept the call. And then once you have acknowledged and accept the call, then to be able and operate in that call. So the journey itself was one for me as a young person. The last thing I was thinking about doing was, becoming a servant for the Lord. While I, loved the Lord, believed in the Lord, knew there was a God. As far as my role, it would be, well, I'd go to church every once in a while, and that'd be about it. But then you get a tug, you get a tug on your heart, tug on your spirit, and the Lord says you got to do more. I need you to do more, and here's what I want you to do. So my journey was, just running away from that call for a very long time, and then once I did say, okay, Lord, you got me in this corner, I can't run anymore, then it was ultimately total surrender to I've run long enough, so now I'm gonna do whatever it is you want me to do. And that's where I'm at now.
And I love that because, like I said, we've known each other since, we grew up in the U, and Miss Clay was making us clean up the rocks off the street. And me and your little brother, Johnny, we were, a year apart from each other in school, but we were the same age. And, I was the one girl in the neighborhood that was playing football with everybody and riding the dirt bikes, and y'all. And it was a family. It was such a unique space for us to grow up in. A lot of young people don't get to experience what we had growing up. What are some of the advice that you give young people and how it relates to how you were brought up and how they can improve their lives?
Well, it's first of all, we have to be honest. The times that we're in are very different now. Mm-hmm. We really relied on each other, not just from a social aspect, but just from an overall village aspect. And I was on a text chain with your brother today. We've been going back and forth with, a bunch of the group that grew up right down the street from us. And we were talking just about that, the village. Right now, a lot of our young people, they find themselves not being stable. You talked about housing earlier, not having that stability, not being able to grow up, with a group of friends and be able to watch those friends grow up, graduate, begin adult life, and then you're still able to, watch them as, they prosper in adulthood, start having families and careers. Those things are something that we could have taken for granted in the past, but it's so valuable now, and I really appreciate it. And knowing that, you got some folks that even if you don't talk to them, for a year or two, you pick up the phone, it's nothing but love.
Yeah, I tell you, I have really enjoyed having that familiar face as I'm out here in this political space. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing you a part of Concerned Clergy, and then often we are in the same political spaces. It has been a joy to see my big brother's face, in here. Because when I first came out, I didn't know nobody, in the political space. But to see that familiar space made it so much easier. And, I've known about Concerned Clergy for a very long time. It has been a prominent fixture in the city of Indianapolis. And I also know that there's Concerned Clergy in Evansville and other parts of the state. Talk to us about what Concerned Clergy is.
Well, you're right. The Concerned Clergy, my president is President Pastor David W. Green Sr. He's been our president now, I don't know, probably going on 18 years now. But the Concerned Clergy has been around since 1960, in which the Reverend Moselle Sanders, he saw a need in which the church, faith-based, could collaborate with the political world as well as attorneys in community and bring all of that together so that we could have, better lives for people of color, for people that may not have that voice, where we can come collectively together as leaders across all of those that spectrum, and then be able to make an impact for people. When talking about changing times, that's something that was very integral when we look at from a historical standpoint about how the civil rights movement was really orchestrated. It was part of, big part of the church. Was helping organize. When you go back even further, you realize that it was the times that the people were coming together for worship, that they could also talk about these items, talk about them together, and be able to strategize. So being able to provide a group of, I'll say, faith leaders that we have with the Concerned Clergy that try to, especially with our president, try to be very in tune with what's going on, in people's lives and what's going on from a legislative perspective that will impact their lives.
I love that, because when I first came out, when I ran for office back in 2016, I reached out to Pastor Green, and I have to be honest, and everybody has their thing, right? Everybody has their thing that they are insecure about. And I wasn't insecure about being a lesbian and being in the queer community, but I was insecure about how I would be received by some of our clergy, because I had some negative experiences in the past. But when I sat down and talked with Pastor Green for the first time, he made me feel like I was more than welcome to fellowship and bounce policies off of each other, without making me feel bad about how I lived and how I loved, because I felt like we cared about the community more than we cared about what somebody else's personal business was. Is this a philosophy that Concerned Clergy has, and that you guys are welcoming in not necessarily different viewpoints on faith, but how you're going to be able to collaborate and work with groups that can get things done?
Let's be honest, it was a philosophy of Jesus. I mean, he was inclusive, and there is a much bigger, I'll say, when we have to realize about, or when we have to, I'll say, reckon with who we can collaborate with. Certain things you have to just take off the table so that you can really focus on the mission at hand, what's the needs that are at hand. And, if we're going to be tallying one another's sins, we'll never get there.
Yeah, right.
Or what we think is someone's sins, or or if we're going to be judgmental on someone, well, none of us have arrived. So the philosophy is having the heart and spirit of Jesus, and then being able to take that and utilize that heart and spirit for the overall good of the community. And in the end, we want. There's enough, I'll say, negativity out there in the world. There's enough, people that are being marginalized. There's too many needs that are out there. And the most important thing, what would Jesus do? That's really what we try to follow, and do it according to his spirit.
I love that. And the other thing is, you guys the Concerned Clergy does not shy away from the issues of the day when it comes to political work. Micah Beckwith, I want to read what Mike Braun said today about Micah Beckwith and his crappy 3/5 video he put out. Indiana cabinet members, lawmakers, lobbyists, and more gathered Wednesday to celebrate Mike Braun's 100 days. But the man of the hour had tough words for his second in command, critics of his marquee legislative accomplishments and healthcare industry. Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith enraged civil rights activists and historians alike last Thursday when he dubbed the U.S. Constitution's 3/5 compromise a great move toward ending slavery. Braun didn't publicly weigh in for nearly a week. I definitely wouldn't have have used that characterization and I don't like it, he told reporters Wednesday. I'm a believer that you better start thinking about what you're saying before it comes out, he continues. And I think that you don't want to make headlines the wrong way because it takes away from the substance of what you're trying to do. I also know that Concerned Clergy put out a statement about Micah Beckwith's 3/5 and his revisionist history. Why was it important for Concerned Clergy to come out so hard and so, 10 toes down on Lieutenant Governor's comments?
Well, it was necessary, Dana. When you look at our political climate overall here in the United States of America, across the board, not just here in Indiana, but we're seeing more and more and more, even if, just the MAGA slogan itself is saying that there's a group of people that want to take us back in time. When we hear those comments that come from our lieutenant governor, he's speaking to a group of people that he's trying to feed them a narrative that is based on a revisionist historical context. But what he's trying to do is feed them something and make an appeal to his base so that they can in turn appeal to, whoever it is in their family or whatever, that this could be a good thing. And what do you mean it could be a good thing? If Micah Beckwith is saying it was a good thing back in the past, we could see legislation in 2026 saying, let's go back to that. So it's important that we stand out, talk out, make sure folks understand this is not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And we can see that there's more to it than just someone making a statement. There could be some motivation for legislation down the road. And you have to kind of stop that now.
Yeah, I love that, because earlier when I was doing my rant, I took the whole public education and started connecting the dots. And you're coming back and saying, look, this is a thing. These guys are looking to marginalize anyone who is not a white male. I mean, it's white straight male. Let's be clear, a white straight male. And you're saying connect the dots. So did you guys get a chance to have the meeting that you guys called for?
Well, there has not been any meeting called for yet, okay. But I can announce and let you know and your audience know that there is another press conference that's going to be held on tomorrow, and that's going to be at Purpose of Life Ministries, 3705 Kessler Boulevard, North Drive, in which we're going to be speaking to this subject. We're going to have a list of speakers that'll be there. We've got Dr. Lasagna Kazembe. We have Dr. Clyde Posley, Rabbi, speaking about crossing faiths. We have Rabbi Dr. Aaron Spiegel. We have Senator Andrea Hunley, and we have Dr. Stephen J. Clay. And they're going to be speaking to these issues to continue to put pressure on the governor to speak out. He made a statement somewhat, but we'd like to see him say even more and say this is not acceptable. Because what I'm fearing, what I'm seeing is that we could be very close to where we have a lieutenant governor battle going against our governor. Yeah, I can see one saying, "Hey, I'm building up my base, and I'm going to go directly after that governor." And
actually, we knew that there was a split between the two of them from jump, right? Exactly. We knew from the very beginning, and we also knew that Micah Beckwith was incredibly problematic because of the nonsense that he and turmoil he caused up in Hamilton County with their library system. And now that he's won this, they thought that they could keep him in check. It's almost like when they, the rich people, the rich Republicans thought that they can keep, the Orange Menace in check, and they can't. And now they thought they can keep Micah Beckwith in check, but they can't. Even the governor can't. And there's going to continue to be some issues. But here's the thing about Mike Braun. If you look at all the places he's been and all the photos he takes, he doesn't take a lot of photos with black people. He does not take a lot of photos with black people. Oh, we got Pastor Crean joining us. Hold on. I see you. I see you, boss. So you don't
How
see.
you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. I don't see him, having a lot of conversation with black people. So how can he really truly advocate for black people when he doesn't actually talk to us to find out what we need and what our communities require? And before you answer that, let me introduce Pastor David Green. Did we lose him?
He's still there. I think he just went off video.
Okay. Let's introduce Pastor David Green. Pastor, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being able to join us. Before we answer that last question, tell the people who you are. So, Pastor Tony was able to give you a little bit about who you are and Concerned Clergy. But tell folks as president of the organization who you are.
I'm just a humble servant, just to say that first, but senior pastor of Purpose of Life Ministries, been there almost 30 years now. So excited about where we serve in ministry, and then president of the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis, which is an advocacy organization striving to make a difference in our community.
And I love that. And so we were talking about the apparent rift that is coming from Micah Beckwith's 3/5 compromise nonsense, and him and Mike Braun. And my point was, yeah, he said this thing because it was bad publicity, but Mike Braun ain't been really talking to black folks. When they were canceling DEI, the black community said, yo, what are you doing? Talk to us about the impact that you're seeing in the community from a Concerned Clergy perspective about all the anti-DEI and that Braun is pushing, and these 3/5 compromise conversations that Micah Beckwith is having. And I don't care who answers.
I'll let Pastor Green.
All right.
Well, I'll say it's a huge problem, and the 3/5 comment was, on the heels of them passing 289. So, in my opinion, Dana, he was just piling on. They'd already won a DEI bill that was really doing damage to the education system and our ability to teach our young people a real accurate history, especially about black history, if you will. And then he goes into his office and wants to make this video and post it and say, oh, yeah, this 3/5 compromise was a great move. And any of this stuff that, promotes slavery was a good thing, or 3/5 compromise is a great move. It's something that is dehumanizing of black people. It is dehumanizing, negating our pain and suffering of what our ancestorhood is about. So we can't sit on the sideline and allow that to take place without responding.
I love that. Direct action is a theme that in the civil rights movement that we use successfully, nonviolent, coordinated work. Talk about what the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis has been doing to have more direct action against things that are harmful to our communities.
Well, one of the things we're clearly willing to speak out against these travesties. A lot of times people don't even speak out for whatever reason. We just accept it and say, well, that's okay. We can't do anything about that now that it's passed. But when it's moved away from what's the facts, you can have different opinions. People will have different opinions, but you can't have different facts.
Right.
So when you get to different facts, you've got to say, wait a minute now, here's the truth about that particular fact. And so we're just standing on that truth, speaking those truths of that fact to the powers to be. And so, tomorrow we're having a press conference around this. It's a coalition, it's a broad coalition of various people from across. We've had over 500 people sign a petition that said, yeah, we also think that the governor should have the lieutenant governor retract his statements. And these people come from a variety of backgrounds, Dana. I mean, it is not black people. It is a number of white people. It's a number of not just faith-based people, but academic people, business people. There's a number of people who say, well, wait a minute, that's not factual what he said.
Right.
And they feel like it's demoralizing of black people, and they're signing off on this. So, and we feel like that type of public pressure is still important, because I still believe that public pressure drives policy. And so we have to raise and lift our voices up if you're going to change policy. You don't get there without doing that.
I love that. And so you missed a little earlier. I told the story of our first meeting and how welcoming you were to me and how you have always wanted to build coalition. Earlier today in the show, I talked about how Republicans have written a bill that would criminalize homelessness. And luckily, it died. But the impact that introducing such policy into our legislature and the harm that it ultimately causes folks from an emotional standpoint, community standpoint, you can't, I don't know. I ain't gonna say what you can't do, but it just seems counter to the teachings when you say I'm going to criminalize homelessness. What was Concerned Clergy's stance on that particular bill, and what type of interaction did you guys have in trying to kill that bill? Because it's dead. And Tony or Pastor?
Well, I'll say that 'cause I serve on the Blueprint Council, that I was part of a coalition fighting this bill tooth and nail. I mean, just fighting because every time it was supposed to go away, the language would pop up in another bill. And so to criminalize poor people, homeless people, to say somebody is homeless that's on the street, hey, we're going to fine you $500. Well, they don't have that kind of money. That's why they're homeless. So it was so mean-spirited. And so we were part of a coalition that was writing, talking to legislators, trying to get them to understand how mean-spirited it was. Again, that coalition was broad. And so we kept pressing and kept pressing and kept fighting to the bitter end. Now, I will say to all your listeners, this bill will be back next year. Mm-hmm. I mean, this bill was brought on by a group that had its own set of lobbyists that came in here, and while they lost this year, we will have to make significant progress, especially in Indianapolis, because that's what's driving this particular legislation to address the homelessness, so that this bill doesn't become law in 2026. But we could celebrate a victory now. We better get ready for a huge fight in 2026.
Absolutely. And it seems like it never ends. Tony, did you want to chime in?
Well, no, I would just want to add, I think that what makes, the work that the Concerned Clergy does so effective is that we have a president such as Pastor Green, who is keeping his ear to what's going on and then being able to share that with his colleagues, other organizations, so that those coalitions can begin now. I think all too often, especially in the past, we've always been late, if you will. These bills have already been passed, done. There's nothing said about it. And we find out afterwards and we don't have the information. So I think that's, one of the great things that we provide, especially through the efforts of, our president. He was down there as much as a lot of the lawmakers were this past legislative session.
I love that. One of the other things that we hear a lot of times, and the right tries to have a monopoly on faith, right? The right tries to suggest that if you are a Democrat, then, you're a heathen. Now, I also know that you guys are nonpartisan, so I'm not trying to make it partisan. But we, on the left side, we know that we have faith-based individuals working for a lot of the policies that we believe in. But talk to people about who are faith-based, who may be listening to the show, about the importance of them being civically engaged in the process, in the policy-making process.
I guess I'll start it before Reverend Alexander chimes in. It's just critical that we don't lose the prophetic piece on the faith-based side. And I was in a discussion with some of my colleagues. There's often a tension between being priestly or being churchy and worrying about just the church and missing our prophetic assignment in terms of social justice, to speak truth to power, to be a part of the solution in that. So we're not running from elections or running from things that are mean-spirited. We got to have enough prophet in all of us to, if you will, speak to those issues and challenge that stuff that we know that's not right. I mean, to me, the true Christian is you saw everybody was equal. The Lord loves everybody, all walks of life and faith. And so when we see people who want to characterize folks as three-fifths of a person, that's problematic from the Bible that I read, where it talks about people being fearfully and wonderfully made, right? So if everybody's fearfully, wonderfully made, that's the lens we need to be looking through, not some judgmental lens. You know, if you're really about the Bible and Jesus, then you're going to be like, hey, a faith-based thing says we're in this thing together. We're all humans. We're all people, and that's the way we should treat people. That's for me, a core value that, hey, you got to at least believe and treat everybody right, regardless of their hue, if you will, regardless of their political affiliation. We got to start with loving folks.
I love that. Tony?
And I would even add that when you look at, and this is something most people are familiar with, when you look at the story of Moses and when he received his call from God, his call included having to go back and speak to Pharaoh and say, let my people go. So he had to stand up for people. And he got that once he got his assignment from God. And it's important for us as people of faith, if we have faith, know that God will send us on similar assignments where we have to speak up and speak out on behalf of people that may not have all of the information, may not know all of the facts. And we have to be there to provide, that information, that guidance, and help, lead them, especially through tough times such as we are in today.
Yes, we are definitely in tough times, and I'm glad you said it just like that. Even though we were out here beating our chests and screaming to the top of our lungs about the damage that Project 2025 is going to have on America, not just on Black America, not just on Latina America, gay Americans, it's going to have a problem on America. And people have a lot of energy right now, and they need to channel that energy. How can people get involved with Concerned Clergy and assist you all in the work that you guys are doing? Either one. Y'all, wait a minute. Can I say this though? Y'all show so much deference to each other. I'm just gonna call on somebody. Okay, Tony, you go first.
Well, no, I'll let our president answer that, because it kind of helps, as far as the direction of the Concerned Clergy. So.
Got it.
Well, we're open. We have our meetings via Zoom because we're trying to make it available for any and all to participate. We found out basically from COVID, that's a good way to do the meeting. A lot of people got used to that because we meet on Saturdays at 9:00. So anybody wants to be a part of that, just hit Rem Alexander and myself up. We'll add you to the distribution list, and we basically coalition building. So we work with any and everybody, other groups. If there's an issue, and whether it's in economics, whether it's in education, this homeless piece, housing. I've found that the greatest success comes not from one group thinking they're going to get there. I think it's important that you work with various people and just stand up for what's right and speak truth to power. And we're in a position that, we can do that. We're not, out here because we're not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. So, we're not leaning dependent on the city for money or the state for money or these other people. So we're free. And so that freedom allows us to say what needs to be said, especially in critical times. And we're in critical times now. So, we encourage any and everybody who wants to be a part of Concerned Clergy. I do need to emphasize, because it has the title Concerned Clergy, people think, well, that's just a bunch of preachers, when in reality, it's made up of politicians. It's made up of just concerned citizens. The clergy piece of it is probably less than 20%. It's made up of other people who would really just share in the concern about the community, what's best for Indiana and for Indianapolis.
I love that. Tony?
And, well, for a lot of those issues, and Pastor Green hit on them, a lot of the issues that our community is concerned about and needs to be informed about, are the pillars, of the Concerned Clergy. When you look at education, when you look at housing, health, legislation, economics, all of those are pillars. Public safety. I mean, those are the items that the clergy, the Concerned Clergy deems are issues that We really need to try to keep our eyes on, not just focus on one, but be able to broadly focus on all of these areas, because where all of these areas right now are actually under attack. And then with that, you can build different coalitions in each one of these pillars, if you will, or each one of these items that focus, and that can broaden your base. It can, broaden your influence. It can broaden your collaborations, and then it can help you also get more information out to the community.
I love that, because relationship building is so key. People, you can't hoard information, because hoarding information means a lot of stuff is going to get missed. And no one organization can do everything. There's no such thing, right? And not every organization is going to fit for every person. And so having a variety of places for people to go to put that energy, I think, is so critical. Right? Young people, I love to spend time with young people, because they show me things. I be like, dang, that's a thing, right? When my nephew told me I'd be outside, I was like, what you talking about, nephew? I work from home. I don't know. Like, the young people hip you to things that you weren't hip to. And I think what you're saying to me is like, you are one piece of the bigger puzzle and the efforts to improve lives, not just in Indianapolis, but all over our state, via coalition building and pushing back against bad policies and advocating for good policies. Do you guys in your meetings also do like action items, like, yo, this is something that we're going to tackle today, and this is how you can help? Is that something that y'all talk about in y'all's meetings?
Yeah, that's usually part of the meeting, because we're really always trying to move things forward, right? So, like, for example, we will have a meeting this coming Saturday at 9:00 on Zoom. So we'll be talking obviously about the Beckwith, kind of a little bit debriefing from the press conference, et cetera. So we'll be having that discussion. That'll be part of Saturday's agenda, as well as hearing from, because we got various members, hearing from the legislators. They'll be able to share their reports in terms of, what's happening on the inside, if you will, and, things that we might need to watch and look for. So that's one of the benefits of the Concerned Clergy, is it does have political people who are part of it, who can share, and maybe some things we wouldn't even aware about, or things we need to be planning for 2026, so you can get started early on it.
Yeah, because I know Representative Greg Porter, who is my representative, and who is on Ways and Means. And if people don't understand, Ways and Means is they handle the purse strings, and he has so much seniority, so much institutional knowledge, and I know he comes and talks to Concerned Clergy quite a bit. Isn't that right, Tony?
Yeah, he shares a lot, and we have some great relationships, I'll say, with some of our elected officials, where they come in, they help us understand some of the language in those bills. They help update us if they've put together their Black legislative agenda items. We have an opportunity to see what that looks like, what their focus is going to be, and then it also, and I think this is probably as important as anything, it also gives them an opportunity to hear from the community, from what's going on, and what if any action items. They probably get more action items than anybody else.
I love it. I mean, because we talk about how do you get your concerns and issues into our elected officials' hands. Here's another mechanism. You attend a Concerned Clergy meeting at 9:00 on a Saturday morning. You can get your concerns shared to people who are elected. I love it. That's why it's important to know what groups are doing what in your community. Know their names, know their faces, because again, Indiana's own don't know everything. I reach out to people all the time. So, okay, we're going to wrap this up soon, but before we go, there's a lot that we are dealing with right now, and I'm going to ask y'all to put your pastor hats on for just a second. And in the midst of all this hurt and pain, we saw what happened to the Oklahoma family, the mother and her children literally being robbed at gunpoint by people with patches saying FBI, ICE or whatever. being traumatized. We have people being snatched off the street and being disappeared. We have people fighting for their freedom because they disagree with this administration. Offer us something to stand 10 toes down in what we believe in and resist the fear that can encompass us. Can I get y'all to just, go on and do that pastor thing y'all do?
Well, in this season, Dana, it's kind of hard. I mean, one of the things is that I believe in honesty. So I'm going to say we got some difficult days ahead of us. we got to buckle up. In the midst of buckling up, in terms of hope, we're going to have to stand up. We're going to have to, go to vote in 2026.
Cool.
We're going to have. There's things we're going to literally have to do. We got to lift our voices. You're seeing a lot of people that are doing polite protests across the country. You got to be a part of that stuff now. If we don't want to see and experience all of this pain, we must stand up, collaboratively across the board, not leave it for somebody else to do. And it's got to be all of us working together. I mean, it's Indiana's own Dana Black and the Concerned Clergy and others all working together. And, because we're not going to win any other way. One group ain't going to get it done. It's going to take all of our voices because, I'm not going to lie to anybody. We got some difficult days ahead of us.
Yeah.
We got some painful days ahead of us because of who's in charge. And some of that we own because people didn't get out to vote. Mm-hmm. And when you don't get out to vote, you got to live with the consequences for a moment. I'm hoping that everybody learns from it to say, okay, rather than sit home, rather than make excuses, rather than saying my vote don't matter, well, I'll take all those people that says my vote don't matter, make sure we go vote so we can turn the tide. I mean, we're going to need that. And that starts, it starts right now. When we get to 2026, we can't be looking at high numbers of who didn't vote.
Yeah.
We got to show up and show out.
Yeah. Pastor
And
Tony?
It's certainly, it's hard when people are experiencing what they're experiencing right now to, just say, hey, here's a scripture in the Bible that's going to encourage you. Putting on a pastor hat, as you said, what we want to do is where people aren't just looking for, a passage of scripture, but looking for that relationship with Christ to help get them through the tough times. And then once they have that relationship, then we can be able to not only provide, faith guidance, but we can also help provide practical guidance as in, here's what's happening with Medicaid, here's what's happening with Social Security, be able to provide folks with answers to questions, because a lot of changes that get made, especially from our Indiana legislators, they do it in a way to which you're either caught off guard, you're surprised. They'll mail you something in a white envelope where there's no identifiers that this is an important piece of mail that you need to make sure that you open quickly. So we can be able, to say, okay, you got your faith. Let your faith lead you through your life, through this season. And then we'll be there to help provide maybe answers to, well, here's what's going on that you need to be concerned about. Here's maybe some action items and what we can do moving forward. And I think marrying the two, where, someone has their own faith, where they are deeply rooted in that, and then being able to say, now we've got some folks that have some wisdom, have some knowledge, and we can be able to utilize that wisdom and knowledge for the betterment of whatever we're going through right now.
I love that. Gentlemen, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time out to chat with my Turn Left listeners. Pastor Green, it was a joy and a privilege to share a mic with you on MLK Day. Not really sure why they had me follow you, but I got a little nervous. They wanted the best one to go. They wanted the best one to go last, and that was you. And I apologize for being late. I'm at the airport trying to get back to Indianapolis. I understand. So. No. We get it. It has been a thrill every time I'm in your space. It's about light. I don't know. People don't understand how I think about and feel about and believe, but light, water seeks its own level. And every time we've been in space together, there's an energy that is transferred between the two, between you and I. I ain't got to know your business. You ain't got to know my business. It's all about that mutual respect and commitment to community. And I got a chance to share the mic with you, and I was thrilled. And I'm hoping that there'll be other opportunities for us to do that. But more importantly, you also have a radio show. Concerned Clergy Radio. Tell us about Concerned Clergy Radio and where people can find that.
That's Reverend Alexander. Go ahead, Reverend Alexander.
All right. Well, you can certainly join us each and every Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our show is broadcast live on Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM. So you can catch it on the AM dial and the FM dial. We're also streaming live on my Facebook page, Antonio Tony Alexander. So you can catch it on Facebook also. So a lot of the issues, that were brought up tonight, some form of fashion, we may be discussing those on one of our Concerned Clergy radio programs.
I love that. And one of the things go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, and speaking of that, I want to make sure that we communicate before we're done. Once again, tomorrow we have our press conference. There's going to be at Purpose of Life Ministries, 3705 Kessler Boulevard, North Drive, 11 a.m. We invite you to be there.
I wish I unfortunately, I will not be able to be there, but I will make sure that I share. Senator Jackson shared the flyer with me, so I'll make sure I get that out to all of my network. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. I'm going to attend the Congressman Carson town hall, and then I have my Wish TV recording after that. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. But guys, I will make sure I post that. That way, you guys have it. It'll be on all the social media networks. Like I said, Senator Jackson, my senator, made sure I had a copy of that. Gentlemen, this has been amazing. And the cool thing is, I hope people take what I hope people take from this. It doesn't matter where you fit in the spectrum of life. And if you care about lives and you care about humans having the best lives that they possibly can, there is a way for us to work together. It does not matter. We say concerned clergymen, and we've been saying faith-based, but it doesn't even matter what your faith is. If you are Muslim, if you are Jewish, or if you're agnostic, it does not matter. If you care about humans, there's a place for you. Any last words before I let y'all go?
Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And then we will see you. You might see me on a Zoom call at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
All right. Love to.
All right. Thank you, guys. You guys were wonderful. Enjoy your evening. Get home safe. We need you here, Pastor Green.
Absolutely. Well,
Tony,
thanks, Dana.
my
Appreciate
brother.
you for having me.
Absolutely. Y'all have a fantastic day.
All right. You be
take
blessed.
Take care.
Wow. Y'all, listen, there's always an opportunity for you to get involved. We just talked to two amazing Indianapolis folk right here who are leading a concerned clergy. They talked about why they are doing the work that they do. You learned about why it's important to get engaged and how you can get engaged. Do not let whatever, even like I said, even I have my own insecurities. But having spent time with a lot of the folks that are about concerned clergy and their commitment to making sure that we have good policy, here's another avenue for you to put your energy. So don't say Dana Black, Indiana's Own, ain't been bringing you what you need and turn left. We bringing it to you. Now it's up to you to do something with it. So listen to them on Wednesdays, because I tell you, there's enough sun for everybody to shine. And then check them out on Saturdays when they have their 9 a.m. conversation. There's an opportunity for you to get involved. One other thing I want to leave on, I have the last couple weeks, as my employer, Act Blue, has been attacked over and over again by this administration. A lot of you shared with me your concerns about whether or not our organization was shutting down. It ain't shutting down. What is you talking about? We out here making it happen. See, if we wasn't good at what we do, they wouldn't even be mentioning us. We're good at what we do. And I am not a spokesperson for Act Blue. I am an employee at Act Blue. But Act Blue's values and my values, they align. We want to help elect more Democrats who are going to write good policy that improves lives. And we do it through the fundraising process. So if somebody's told you that we were shutting down, we're not shutting down. If you need help, I am always here to help. You know how to find me. We're not going to allow tyranny and fascism to stop us, because in our collective effort to work with candidates who are going to write good policy, we will be here. I am excited about it. Like I said, they wouldn't even come for us. Just like, I always tell you, they ain't trying to take your vote away unless it had power. They're not trying to take your small dollar donations away if it didn't have power. It has power. One of the things I say in all of my training classes is you can find one person to give you $1 million. That's just one person supporting you. But what if you find 1 million people that can give you $1? That's 1 million supporters. And it's the same amount of money, but it's that many more votes. So guys, don't worry about Act Blue. We good. Follow Act Blue on all the socials. Go to they got a blog. We got a blog. We have a podcast. Follow us. And this, that's my plug for my employer. No, I didn't get permission to do it. So if I get in trouble, y'all know why. But I rocks with Act Blue. I believe in what they're doing. And I'm so grateful because it allows me to do this work out here in these streets for you here in Indiana. So please continue to support Act Blue. All right, guys, I'm going to be off for, I have Dana Colbert and I are going to be together next week. We're going to be talking about some things, and look for another Indiana Talks with my good friends Mary and Mark as we wrap up what happened at the General Assembly session this year and bring you the things that you need to be aware of. And as always, Indiana's Own is always trying to bring you the information that you need. All right, I will holler at y'all next time. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's Own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.